Hi, Tina Peters here.
See, today they go after you if you're investigating
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Welcome, everybody. This is the substitute on the Tina Peters show, and that almost makes me saying her name. It almost makes me swell up with tears. I think everybody knows that this was a political hit on Tina Peters. That she's serving any time, that she has had to spend even a day in jail, uh, s- doing the things that she did to do her job. And because the government, of course, has to make examples of people who do that. Uh, wow, Tina Peters, a true American hero, and now sits in prison. I really can't believe this, folks. But if Tina somehow gets to hear this, Tina, we all love you, and I know that you and I are very good friends. Um, every chance I've had, I've donated to your cause, and plan to do so again. And I hope everybody has uh, put some cash aside and reached deep into their pockets to help you with your appeal and to help you financially. Obviously, it's a real financial strain on anyone that has had to go through everything that you've gone through. And we pray for you. We wish you good health. I know that you've had health problems, and this is just an absolute outrage. Folks, Tina did a fundraiser right before her trial, and I attended that. And then I attended 2 or 3 days, I think maybe 2.5 days of her trial. And I can honestly tell you, was it Matthew Bennett, Judge Matthew Bennett? Maybe Barrett. I can't remember his name, but I remember what he did. Barrett, Barrett. I remember his name now that I was reminded. Thank you. And how he conducted himself in that courtroom was an absolute travesty and an absolute shame. Every chance he got, he chewed out and I guess really scolded the audience, but only on the side of Tina. And he accused someone 2 or 3 times for an outburst. Well, I was sitting 2 rows behind these people. An outburst means somebody else would hear it. And he started scolding, and we're looking at each other. Mark Fincham and I were there, and we were looking back and forth at each other, going, "What the heck is he talking about?" None of us heard a thing. And he's sitting there yelling and scolding someone for an outburst. Uh, I thought he was very inattentive at times, almost falling asleep. And when he scolded the audience, he said, "You're making it difficult for me to pay attention." And I wanted to say, your mind wandering and you being sleepy is what's making it difficult for you to pay attention. And this guy was absolutely half idiot, but more so, he was following orders and just going along with this charade to attack uh, the former Mesa County recorder. And as such, she swears an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. Now, I'm not saying Tina was right or wrong with preserving the vote tallies uh, of this county. But I'm saying if she believes that there's a reason to do it, then she ought to do it. I didn't know what she was looking at. I didn't know why. I know since then why, but at the time I didn't know why, and only she did. and she doesn't have to explain herself to anyone else. It would have been nice had the sheriff taken what she was doing and investigated the damn thing. But, Colorado is just completely falling apart. And what they're doing there in the legislature and the sheriffs that are now just going along to get along. When we first started the CSPOA, when we first started the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, we had our first conference January 30th, 2012. Our organization was formed in the summer of 2011. And then we got people working with us, and we decided to have a national conference to kick off what we were doing. And we didn't have any money. We just started. We didn't have any money. So I started doing radio shows and interviews, just about 4 or 5 a day, trying to raise the money for CSPOA. Thanks for putting that up. The Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Now, we're going to get back to Tina's plight in just a minute, but I want you to know what we did. And don't you love that motto? Don't you love our mission statement, if you will? It's only 4 words. How many police departments and sheriff's offices have mission statements, and they're like 2 pages long? They put them on the wall. You can't even read it. It's so long. Ours is pretty short, pretty succinct, and to the point. Uphold, defend, protect, and serve. Look, uphold, defend, protect, and serve. Doesn't that say it all? That's what we're supposed to be doing. We uphold the Constitution of the United States. We defend the rights of the people. We protect the individuals and the constituents that live within the jurisdictional boundaries of our counties. We defend them, we protect them, and we serve them. We are the servants of the people. And so here, Tina Peters is serving the people in her county. And what does she get for it? Of course, they want to make an example of her. If you try to do this, we are coming after you. And so, how about this, folks? Remember after the 2022, the 2020 and the 2022 elections, that if anybody wanted to know, just know how the elections were tabulated and how they came to the conclusion that they did, because especially some counties in this country had more votes than they had registered voters. And so anybody who is in office, who is a county recorder, who's in charge of the election and in charge of making sure that they are tabulated correctly, gets suspicious about them and wants to preserve those tabulations. That is what Tina did. And it used to be that we had a real good, strong contingency of constitutional sheriffs in Colorado. Now, we don't. And many of them have just fallen to the political correctness of Colorado. And Colorado, they try to get something done, Denver being a sanctuary city, which is, by the way, illegal. And what are they doing about deportation? And we've got to talk about that. But folks, just so you know, our organization is dedicated to preserving the Constitution of the United States, and that every peace officer and sheriff who has sworn an oath in God's name to the people they serve, to the people they protect, they swear an allegiance to the Constitution, so thereby protecting the God-given civil rights of every American. And so I'm just baffled as to what happened in this courtroom with Tina Peters. I saw it and I absolutely could not believe it. Now, folks, I've been to trial more than most prosecutors have um, in their entire careers. And I've it's hundreds and hundreds of times. Now, are all those major cases I'm talking about? No. Traffic court, I went to that a lot um, because I wrote too many tickets, and that's a conversation for another day. But tickets are highly immoral. Traffic tickets are highly immoral. Why? Because officers are told to do it to bring in money, not to make our streets safer, not to make the people safer, but to bring in revenue. I felt more like a revenue agent than I did a public servant. And that's what really, that issue brought me to the point of discovering my oath of office and the Constitution. And I realized that I had sworn an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution so that I could get an interesting and an exciting job. And sometimes it's not exciting and it's not very interesting, and sometimes it's boring. And thank God that it is to be a cop. Sometimes it's just not busy. Sometimes it's just not exciting. Good, because that means things are peaceful and we're getting along in our community and people aren't hurting each other and there's no traffic accidents and people aren't getting killed in traffic accidents or drunk drivers and or by drunk drivers. And so, folks, the point is that all of us in law enforcement and all of us in government are required by law, by the supreme law of the land, to swear an oath to the U.S. Constitution. I know Tina Peters. Tina Peters is a friend of mine, and she was doing what she thought was right. And now in court, the reason I brought up all the court cases I've ever been to, first of all, I've been to tax court, and that was actually in Denver. So some constituents of mine were being prosecuted, and they called me as an expert witness, and I actually testified. And that courtroom was full of hate and evil, and I felt evil spirits in that courtroom. And it, I know it was because it was being prosecuted by the IRS. And these good people that were in that courtroom had some good lawyers, and they were actually court appointed. And usually, public defenders aren't that great. But these 3 or 4 attorneys were very good. And they got him off on everything. They were looking at 40 years in prison. They got him off all the federal felony charges. And then the judge found him in contempt. And they all got like about a year in prison, a year in prison. And for Tina to get 9 years is just astounding. For the crime that she supposedly committed. Is there a victim? A reporter was interviewing me outside the courtroom during lunch, and of course she was really leftist, and she already believed that Tina was guilty. And I said, "Have you ever been to court before? Do you know what you have to prove in court? You have to prove mens rea, MENS, second word REA." And I don't know why they can't just talk English in courtrooms, but mens rea is there must be a benefit. The person who commits the crime must receive some benefit for committing that crime. So extortion, you're getting something from the person that you're extorting. Um, and I'm not going to go through all the crimes because it might sound a little bit morbid. But you kill someone because you're going to receive something. What is the motive? You hear that every time. In a murder case, what is the motive? What was Tina's motive? What was her mens rea? What was she getting for it? And what was the benefit to her? There has to be, you have to prove uh, some sort of advantage, some sort of benefit from the case. And that's where mens rea comes in. And then the reporter I was talking to could not come up with a mens rea. Later on, I was talking to somebody close to Tina and to the case. And like I said, I wasn't there for the whole time. I think it lasted about 10 days, 2 weeks. And so they said that the prosecutor actually had to really dig deep to come up with uh, criminal intent. Criminal intent, that she did it with criminal intent, and that her mens rea, her benefit was being a national hero. She was doing it so she would be a national hero and make a bunch of money from all the people in the country that agreed with her that there was voter fraud. Okay. Um, was there voter fraud in that case? We don't know. Nobody would ever investigate it. Tina's not an investigator. She was a complainant. She was suspicious that there was a voter fraud. Wow. So she had reasonable suspicion, and then she was trying to create a complaint and probable cause for someone else to investigate. And I think she did talk to her sheriff about it, um, but nobody did anything except they went after her. In Utah, there were two mothers who called several counties in the state of Utah. We just want to know how the votes were tabulated and what were the numbers. What were actually the numbers from the voter tabulations? What were they? Guess who knocked on their door after they simply asked for the numbers, which are public information? The FBI came knocking on their doors, their respective doors. They didn't live in the same home. And this was Jennifer and Sophia. And I've met them since then, and they've talked about this all over. Absolutely astonishing. The weaponization of the FBI that happened during the last 4 years. Absolutely astonishing. I cannot believe that America, maybe that's the wrong term, that our government has stooped to such levels. And so I know I'm throwing a bunch out there, folks, but stay with me on this. This is so powerful. So Tina was supposedly doing this with the criminal intent of being famous. Is that against the law? If you're gathering evidence illegally to create a persona for yourself and a national persona for yourself, I don't even think that's very illegal. Okay, what? She gathered public information, and she was safeguarding it so no one could erase it. And that happened actually with um, a sheriff in Kansas City, a real good constitutional sheriff there. Yeah. So in Johnson County. So that particular sheriff was investigating voter fraud in that county, and the state came in and erased it all, which was illegal. It's supposed to be safeguarded for 2 years, and they just came in and erased it, and completely thwarted and impeded his criminal investigation. So that's obstruction of justice. Can you believe this? And these types of crimes went on and on and on. And it came to the point where I saw so much corruption from the FBI that my father, being a retired FBI agent back in the 70s, it just made me know that I knew my father was turning over in his grave at the corruption of the FBI. And so here's Tina supposedly being charged because she wanted to become famous and have everybody applaud her and throw money at her. And I really don't see that as mens rea. Some people say that I'm famous. Well, let me tell you right now, it doesn't pay the bills. Fame, who cares? Now, money, oh, you betcha. We would love all of you to donate to the CSPOA right now. Okay, go to cspoa.org and donate. Yes, it takes money to run this national organization, and everybody donate. But am I committing a crime because I want people to donate? No. How is that a crime? And if you donate $760, we'll send you 76, Spirit of 76. We'll send you a wallet and badge, CSPOA posse badge, that's just like everybody else's. Every detective carries this kind of credentials. Okay. And I say detective because it's really fancy. Something you can put on your coat pocket or in your back pocket, something women can put in their purse. So help us with this fundraiser, $760. We'll pay the shipping, and you get this beautiful wallet and put all your credit cards in there and your identification. And the badge says CSPOA Posse. And become a member of our posse. Make any kind of donation that you possibly can. We want to thank the people of Colorado who have just recently donated to us. And I'll say one name, Rosemary. Thank you so much for donating to us just recently. And Rosemary's a very dear friend of mine. We thank all of the people across the country who donate and keep the CSPOA going. Is any of that a crime? No, it's not. If you commit a crime with the intention of becoming rich and famous, then that's a crime either way. But if you're not committing a crime and you want to become famous for it, so what? She was doing her job. And people say, well, nope, she was wrong. In her mind, in her intent, which was not criminal intent, she was doing her job and she was trying to preserve the votes. Who did that hurt? She's trying to preserve public information to make sure that if anyone would actually step up and have the courage to investigate this, then they would go for it. You know, there were about 6 sheriffs who did criminal investigations within the last 2-3 years, and now 4 years for Sheriff Darleaf in Berry County, Michigan. He was just reelected to his 5th term. He's been reelected 5 times. Very staunch constitutional sheriff. He attended our first conference back in, what did I tell you? January 30th, 2012. And he's been converted to the CSPOA ever since. He's been one of our speakers at our conferences. Another sheriff, Scott Williams from Texas, went to our conference about 4 or 5 years ago in the Woodlands, Texas. And he wasn't going to go at first until a constituent came to him and said, hey, are you going to that conference put on by CSPOA and Sheriff Mack in the Woodlands? And he says, nah, I looked up Sheriff Mack and then on the internet, and man, he has a lot of horrible things said about him. No kidding. There's a lot of different groups that have lied about me and tried to smear us. If you believe in the Constitution, and if you sue the federal government like I did and win a case at the United States Supreme Court. Now, not very many people can say that. Only 7 sheriffs can say that because 6 sheriffs joined me in that lawsuit. And this is the only time in U.S. history where that ever happened. Folks, did you hear that? I started a movement to sue the federal government back in 1994 when I was sheriff of Graham County, Arizona. Really? I'm not kidding. And 6 sheriffs joined me in that lawsuit because the federal government, the BATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, told every sheriff in this country, they went to every sheriff's association in each state and ordered us, pursuant to Congress and the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, that the sheriffs of this country had to enforce the gun control associated with the Brady Bill. And that was Brady Bill 1. Because there were 5 Brady Bills. Brady Bill 2, 3, 4, and 5 never even got voted upon, never even reached the floor of the United States Senate or the House of Representatives, because sheriffs had brought Brady Bill 1 to litigation And they wanted to see how that turned out before they started on the other bills, Brady Bills 2, 3, 4, and 5. When we won, Brady Bills 2, 3, 4, and 5 all died. They died. Folks, do you know what 7 sheriffs did to preserve the Second Amendment? Because Brady Bills 2, 3, 4, and 5 were going to completely destroy the Second Amendment. And because 7 sheriffs had the courage to stand up against the federal government, we won with 7 sheriffs. It started with 1, yours truly. And this was such a miracle, such an absolute miracle. So why do national groups who support communism and socialism and Democrat extremists, liberal extremists, why do they go after us? Because they want to take away our credibility at winning at the United States Supreme Court. You know, when CNN and Washington Post and other national periodicals have interviewed me, I'll talk about my Supreme Court victory because it's credibility to the CSPOA and what we're doing. They never even mention the Supreme Court case. Can you imagine why, folks? So we know that the FBI has been weaponized, and we know that Trump is now trying to reverse all that. So, folks, I before I get back into Tina's story, and believe me, that is an absolutely astonishing, amazing story. But we've got to look at some other things as well. The problem that exists in our country, the number one problem, and it's the reason that Tina is in prison, and it's the reason that a man by the name of Sam Girard went to prison for 4.5 years after being sentenced 6 years. Sam Girard is from Bath County, Kentucky, and he is an Amish farmer. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not Amish, but I love the Amish. I love a group called Friends of Medjugorje in Birmingham, Alabama. I love them, and they're Catholics, and they're very dear friends of mine. And they've invited me to their Caritas compound, and Caritas means charity, and in Spanish it means caritas, which means little faces. So I thought when I first going there that it was something to do with children, little faces, but no, it's charity. And maybe that's one and the same, though, in a lot of ways. For such is the kingdom of God, talking about let the little children come unto me, is what Christ said. Folks, Sam Girard was put in prison for 6 years by Judge Danny C. Reeves, this crook judge, federal judge, because Sam Girard, 1, did not show any remorse. 2, he was obstinate. Now you go to prison for being stubborn. And 3, he did not get permission from the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, because he made a salve, a lotion, out of chickweed. Yeah, you heard me right. Most of you don't know what chickweed is, because I didn't know until he got a hold of me, and he borrowed a cell phone and got a hold of me. And he's a dear friend. I absolutely love Sam Girard and his wife and his family. When I first went out there, all the wives and his daughters-in-law went out, and they're not polygamous, and they all made me lunch, and it was one of my fondest memories ever in my life. And yeah, there it is. Sam Girard was sentenced to prison because he was stubborn, didn't show remorse, and because he didn't get permission from the FDA to make that salve. Folks, he doesn't need permission from any federal judge to pursue his pursuit of happiness. What is our government supposed to be about? Protecting life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This crook of a judge and this prosecutor and this lady, and I yelled at her afterwards out in the hallway. Um, I said, he's an Amish farmer, for God's sakes. You know, they didn't care anything about this being his religious tenets or beliefs. This prosecutor is trying to make a name for herself. That's what prosecutors do all across this country, folks. They do not care if they go after innocent people as long as they can get some sort of plea bargain, guilty verdict, and do their win-loss record at 98% win record against all these horrible criminals that they're putting in prison. The Amish folks, the most innocent among us and our citizens, they're being attacked all over the country. Amos Miller being attacked right now by, used to be the Food and Drug Administration and the Department of Agriculture, USDA. Now the state Department of Agriculture is going after him. And Amos Miller's losing everything. And he's got a good lawyer, and maybe we can get some headway there. But I've been trying to help him. He and I have had several conversations. This federal government is so out of control and so corrupt. They don't have enough to do. They have to go after the Amish. And folks, do not forget this either. Where does the federal government have authorized any regulatory authority? It's only the Commerce Clause. That's it. That's all they get. Interstate commerce, not intrastate, not inside the state, but across state lines. And that would be very, very little. And so do you really expect that the federal government should form bureaucracies that now get to monitor every single ranch, every single farm in this country, and how they do their business? It's not up to them to do such a thing. And they try to justify it by stretching the hell out of the Commerce Clause so that they can have authority to tell us all what to do with our lives from the time that we're born to the time that we die. And that brings us to other corruption. And folks, there's no question that the IRS has been an anti-American, anti-freedom, criminal organization since they were started in 2013. One of the worst years of American history, because the Federal Reserve was formed that year, and there's nothing federal about the Federal Reserve. It is a group of international banksters who are controlling our money supply. And the United States Constitution in Article 1, Section 8 says that Congress shall coin money and regulate the value thereof. Look it up. Look at Article 1, Section 8. You know, most of you who know and understand the Constitution know what I'm talking about. If you don't, still challenge what I'm telling you. Look it up. How did Congress ever get the authority to transfer that responsibility, that constitutional responsibility, to private banksters? They don't have the authority to do that. And then what do? They form an IRS to go after us because the tax code is so convoluted and so voluminous that no one understands it, including IRS agents and people who work for the IRS. The IRS has flunked their audits, and people who work for them have made mistakes on their tax returns because it is impossible to understand, and it's impossible not to make mistakes. And this horrible agency exists so that Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, both have done this, can keep us under control, scare us, intimidate us, and keep us under control. Why haven't they gotten rid of the IRS, which we pray that Trump is going to do now with the leadership in Congress? Because they wanted it that way. They've wanted the IRS. They've done so many different hearings about the abuses of the IRS, and nothing ever changes. Can we bring up Lois Lerner? Lois Lerner during the Obama administration, and she was the director of the IRS. And she says, I haven't done anything, or Department of Treasury, same thing. She says, I haven't done anything wrong. She raised her right arm and swore, I haven't done anything wrong. I'm pleading the fifth, and I'm resigning. And she retired. She got this big exorbitant salary for her pension. Folks, that is absolutely so corrupt, it's not even funny. And then the epitome of all corruption in our country is just not Tina or Sam Gerard or anyone else who's been attacked. And yours truly, um, I got raided by the FBI and the IRS when I was trying to run for sheriff again. And I served 2 terms in Arizona. Then I moved back to Utah, where I started my police career, and I ran for sheriff of Utah County. It's one of the most conservative, supposedly one of the most conservative counties in America. I won the county convention 2-1 over my opponent. I had 49.5%. He had 25.5%. And so, and then another one of his deputies had about 24.5%. And everybody thought I had a solid chance to win. My opponent said it was going to be very close. I said it was going to be very close. The newspaper said it was going to be very close. And the IRS and FBI raided my office 3 days before the election. Yes, 3 days before the election, 1 month to the almost to the day that I beat the IRS, but beat the federal government at the U.S. Supreme Court. I won my case against the Clinton administration June 27, 1997. This raid in my office by the FBI and IRS took place June 8th, 1998. Again, 3 days before my election, I lost all the undecided votes and a few others, and it was not even close. Then it was so important that they put my name on a search warrant aimed at one of my clients, someone else. I'm not going to say his name. He ended up going to jail. But my name wasn't on any of this stuff to do with him. And after I lost, get this, the FBI and IRS, in their epitome of corruption, the zenith of corruption, never contacted me again. I was never indicted. I was never interviewed. I was never interrogated. I was never charged, not with a damn thing. They got what they wanted, obviously. I lost. I never served another day in law enforcement since that time. But since that time, I've written 8 books. I've traveled the entire country. I've been interviewed all across the world. And I've done presentations in 48 states. To this day, I still haven't done a presentation in Rhode Island or Vermont. Okay. And I really hope to do those someday too. But we're still at it. We're working, we're harding, we're absolutely giving our heart to all of this. We've put our heart and souls into this work, that people will have some place to go when they are so thoroughly abused and victimized by our own government, that they will have someone to turn to for peace, safety, protection, and liberty. And that is what the CSPOA is all about. And every single one of you can become members of our posse and be part of this movement to make sure that Americans nationwide have some place to turn, have someone to turn to for help when there's no place else to go. And in Sam Gerard's situation, I went out there and I talked to his sheriff, and the sheriff was wanting to help. And then the FBI and the U.S. Marshals sneaked in at night and arrested Sam Gerard without the sheriff knowing. And that's why you want a sheriff to put all the federal agencies and state agencies on notice that, see what time it's getting me, that they check with the sheriff first. And that's what we teach. You agencies want to come into my county? Make sure you check with me first. I'm not saying you can't come in, but I want to see the paperwork that you're going to serve on citizens in my county beforehand. This is huge, folks. This is courage. This is proper. This is a check and balance, like our entire constitutional system is a huge check and balance on federal authority. And we have had sheriffs that have done that, and God bless them for it. And I've done it. When I was sheriff, I did this. And I stood up to the FDA and to the EPA. And you want to read my Supreme Court decision, you've got to read this Supreme Court case. And it talks about how the EPA was ruled to be unconstitutional in the early 1970s. Folks, you can get that little book at my website. You can get the County Sheriff, America's Last Hope. That's the book that has really gone off the shelves big time. And I first wrote that in 2009. It was published in 2009. It's still there. It's a great book. It's only 50 pages long. Get that at cspoa.org. The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope. Then a little white review, like a white booklet, that's the review of my Supreme Court case. You want to get a bunch of those and hand them out to your sheriffs and county commissioners, your county prosecutor, have him become aware of that. So right now we're planning to do a conference in the state of Washington because the Attorney General there is suing Sheriff Wagner. You know what the crime that Sheriff Wagner's committing? He's trying to help Tom Homan with deportation. And the Attorney General of the state of Washington is suing that sheriff for breaking Washington state law. It sounds like Colorado wants to do the same thing. And so this is absolutely crazy. So we're going to go and have a seminar there and teach the truth about what sheriffs can and cannot do, but what attorneys general can and cannot do. And is the state government your sheriff's boss? They are not. Can the state government, can the state legislature or the attorney general of the state or the governor employ your sheriff? Nope. That's only the people. That's a responsibility of we the people only. Okay? And so the state usurps and steals the authority granted in the stewardship that we as people have. And what are they trying to do? Steal it and take it away from we the people. Only we the people in America, in every respective county, can hire or can fire the sheriff. The state legislature can't, the attorney general can't, and the governor can't. The federal government can't. The FBI can't hire your sheriff or fire your sheriff. And so we're going to talk about this at a seminar, maybe a national conference seminar in Washington State within the next couple of months. And it is now in the planning stages. Folks, we still have a lot of work to do. And we have a lot of Tina Peters all across the country. And of course, our heart goes out to Tina. And she has lost so much. She is a Gold Star mom. Some of her children have turned their backs on her since she got into trouble for doing her job. And so my hat is off to Tina. God bless her. May God help her. And may all of us also help the holy cause of liberty. Folks, what did the founding fathers say? What did they say in the last line of the Declaration of Independence? Yes, I have that memorized. I'm not reading anything here, folks. That last line is so powerful. And we want to bless Tina with that, and the other Sam Gerards and the other farmers who've been harassed and prosecuted unrighteously and unjustly across this country. God bless all of them, whether they're of the Amish faith or whatever faith they are, or whether they're no faith at all. That is an individual choice. But God bless Sam Gerard and Amos Miller and David Hostetler, who was the one that was attacked in uh, Elkhart County, Indiana. And Sheriff Brad Rogers stood up against the federal government and warned them that he would arrest them if they came back and harassed this good Amish farmer. Folks, this is just so out of control. And one other thing, I failed to mention this one other corruption in Washington, D.C., that the United States Congress, and some Republicans have a hand in this, have actually taken and stolen taxpayer dollars and paid it and pay it continuously to the tune of almost $800 million a year to Planned Parenthood. They take taxpayer dollars and pay it to an NGO, non-governmental organization that provides no government service whatsoever. Not one iota of the monies used by Planned Parenthood are just or government service. They kill babies with that. That's what they do. So quite the opposite of a government service. In a government that's based on protecting life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we deny babies in the womb the right to breathe. This epitomizes and is the zenith of corruption in this country. And we must stop this. And we now have a chance with President Trump, and Mike Johnson said, we're going to do all we can to defund Planned Parenthood. And there is a proposed law right now in the United States Congress right now being considered to do that. If this Congress fails to protect the unborn, then I'm going to follow up with that and file a lawsuit against the United States Congress for issuing money against the 14th Amendment to Planned Parenthood. If they issue money, taxpayer dollars to Planned Parenthood, then why not to the CSPOA? All we do is what Martin Luther King asked us all to do and stand for civil rights. We talk about Martin Luther King. He's in my presentation, and so is Rosa Parks. And we actually have sheriffs and law enforcement nationwide stand up and protect people's God-given civil rights. So why wouldn't I get money for my organization? We do more government service than Planned Parenthood does. And if it's equal protection under the law, why does that private club get money and our national organization not get money? Why? Because they pick and choose their causes, and they're not allowed to do that. So we'll see how this goes, but I'm definitely going to follow up with that. Larry Klayman, get ready. I want you to file that lawsuit for me. So folks, I'm going to end with my quote that I told you, and I know I'm bouncing around, folks. I'm sorry. Okay. I know I've bounced around, but it's because I'm speaking from my heart, and Tina Peters is in my heart, and my wife is in my heart, because in 2 months, my wife and I will be celebrating our 50th, yes, 50, our 50th wedding anniversary. And I am so lucky to have had this beautiful woman most of my life. And for the past 51 years, we met 51 years ago. And I am so grateful for her. She's been such an inspiration to me. And with that inspiration, let's turn to the founding fathers. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. End quote. And folks, we must do the same today. And that's why I've asked each of you to join the CSPOA, join our posse, become a part of this solution that creates a peaceful and effective solution for every American. There's a place to turn in your state, a place to turn in your county for help and for peace and for liberty. liberty. And hopefully that's every peace officer in this country, and it's every single sheriff in this country. So God bless us. God bless us all as we stand for liberty and do our duty and join unitedly in restoring the Constitution as the supreme law of the land and restore our constitutional republic. We do not need to move forward to do that. We've got to go back. This solution is in our history. It's at Independence Hall. It's in the minds and hearts and beliefs of our founding fathers. We must return to those basic fundamentals that made America great in the first place. God bless us as we do that, my dear friends. And please get a hold of me. Go to cspoa.org. Call me, email me, whatever you can do. But sign up for CSPOA online and be a part of a peaceful and effective solution. Thanks to our producer for getting all this done and all this information to you that you're seeing on your screen now. And may God bless us all, and may God bless Tina Peters and all the other innocent people, Sheriff Scott Jenkins, the Amish farmers, and all the others across our country who have been so abused and victimized by our own government. God bless you, everyone, and God bless each of us as we help each one of them. Good night, and thank you so much, folks.
Hi, Tina Peters here.
See, today they go after you if you're investigating.
Yeah.
Sort of like